President Emmanuel Macron is hosting the meeting of the so-called Coalition of the Willing, which is also focused on ensuring long-term military support for Ukraine. One of the key roadblocks has been securing American backing when the conflict finally ends. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to meet with Zelensky at the Paris talks, and the White House says President Trump is also expected to speak with Zelensky today. Efforts to end the war have largely stalled. Trump has repeatedly issued two-week warnings to Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the war, but has so far not taken any concrete actions. Joining me now is Gesine Weber, a fellow at the German Marshall Fund Geostrategy team. Gesine, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to ask and get into this here a little bit too. We've been talking about how these talks and how the possibility of this conflict coming to an end have stalled, certainly it feels like, after a very strong push by the U.S. For you, and in looking where we stand right now, security guarantees are ultimately what is going to, it feels like, one of the huge factors in this moving forward. What could those look like for Ukraine, and do you think the country will allow that and to be substituted for NATO membership?
I think we might actually know that once this interview finishes, because French President Macron is giving these details right now to the French press. In general, a security guarantee can have two major components. The first being a material industrial security guarantee, meaning that European states decide to continuously supply military support to Ukraine. And the other part of a security guarantee could be the deployment of what is called now a reassurance force or an assurance force, meaning the deployment of European troops as part of a ceasefire. But at the moment, we do not yet know how this could look like.
Yeah, we're monitoring too that news conference from the French president, at least at this point, and we'll keep our viewers up to date on what comes out of that. I want to just touch on this. We did hear too that a White House official has said that Donald Trump told European leaders in a call today that Europe must stop purchasing Russian oil, and that Trump also emphasized that the leaders must place economic pressure on China as well for funding Russia's war efforts. What do you make of those comments from the U.S. president today?
So the comment on Russian oil, or in general the pressure from the United States to stop buying Russian oil, is something that is not new. European leaders know that. But for Trump, it's, of course, something that is, I think, important to reiterate in this context. The pressure on China is a more interesting element, because that is something that has explicitly never been said like that. And it puts Europeans in a particularly delicate situation, because with the U.S. tariffs on Europe, China and economic relations with China have, of course, despite all the problems that they have bilaterally, for example, with market access and reciprocity, still made China a more interesting and more attractive trade partner for Europeans. And the pressure from the United States, of course, now puts them in a strategic dilemma where they might see themselves caught between the United States, their security ally, putting massive pressure on them, and on the other hand, significant economic dependence on China.
Right. So again, we'll watch for that closely too. But Gesine Weber, a fellow at the German Marshall Fund Geostrategy team, thank you for your time today. Appreciate this.
Thank you.